gonna be good.
Okay, today is October the 7th, 2022, and we are fortunate enough to be here with Patricia Spencer McKlusky to hear her wonderful story.
Okay. You mentioned something when we were just talking a minute ago about being in the Brownies. In the Brownies.
Yeah.
Tell us about that. I'm curious. Who was the den mother and?
I was a dead mother for Boy Scouts.
Okay.
And but I was the brownie when I was what I'd say. I can't remember how old you are when you joined Girl Scouts. Do you?
Well, the Brownies would probably.
This is before Girl
Scouts. They were before
yeah,
the
they were
Girl Scouts.
I would say 7 years old, maybe. Maybe from 7 to 10 or something like that. Maybe.
Something close to that.
Yeah.
But I didn't look in the book yet. I haven't had time, but I'm going to take it with me.
Who was the head brownie? Do you remember?
I have no idea.
Remember who the?
Lena Ames did a lot of things like that.
Okay,
It might have been Lena.
You might have been her, okay.
But I can't think of anybody else.
Did you all
It was
meet at her
somebody
house?
we all know.
Oh, yeah. Did you meet at her house?
I don't remember.
Oh, well, I don't remember. Somebody asked me about the Cub Scouts. We were both in the Cub Scouts, and I wouldn't remember anything about that.
I don't think we met at a house.
Okay.
It might have been
Church or something.
something that they it could have been.
Yeah.
Okay.
Something.
So, did you move on to the Girl Scouts? Were you in the Girl Scouts?
Oh, yes.
Okay. Do you remember more about that, maybe, as far as what you all did?
No.
Were you born in
I can remember. I can remember a lot when I was den mother and had the Boy Scout.
Yeah.
Okay.
But that was fun because I love children.
Yeah.
The Christian school children come and sing to me.
Yeah, I've heard that when I came in.
They just came.
Yeah,
I
that's
sat there and I don't mean to, but the water just
blubbering.
poured down. Because I won't see them anymore, and I love them.
I know. I tell you, we're gonna miss you around here.
I don't know about that, but you know what they gave me Christmas?
No.
You know, the 12 days before Christmas?
Oh, yeah.
They brought me a shopping bag full of 12 gifts,
Oh.
and I had to open one at a time.
One a day.
It was a different, nice little gift. Every one of them. You know what the 12th one was?
I think they're bringing these kids up right. I really do. This Christian school.
I don't know whether I ought to say this.
Oh, I would. That,
The
if you don't
12th
give it to me.
one, Christmas Day, the 12th one was a roll of toilet paper.
Well, that's definitely a keeper.
Whose picture was on it?
But I told them I'm going to make them some chocolate chip cookies. Whenever the tourists go by, I speak to every single one of them. I want to find out where they're from and how they found a little town like Cape Charles.
Yeah.
It's very interesting to me. And they always thank me for making them feel welcome. And anyway, I get birthday cards. I get Christian invitations, and I forgot I was sitting on these.
Let me ask you something else for
They just brought me these before you came. The Christian school kids all came over and brought me these.
So were you born in Cape Charles? Or did you move here?
Absolutely.
Okay, were you born at home or were you born, that was before the hospital,
All right,
right?
down here on the corner, you know those gray houses that are fairly new?
Yeah,
Right here.
yeah.
There's a White House on the other side, right behind them.
Lenore Mitchell lives.
I was born there upstairs.
Mm-hmm.
I think Deanne Etz, do you remember her? She was about your age, I
Who?
think. Deanne Etz.
Oh, yeah.
Well, it was her daughter, his family. You remember where she lived when y'all were growing up?
Seemed to me it wasn't an avenue, it was a street.
Oh, okay. So that wouldn't be the same place. Huh?
No.
Yeah, we're talking about just right down the street here. In fact-
Remember Regis?
Oh, sure.
He was a bird.
Was he? In your,
Everybody liked him so much, but boy, he gave the teachers a hard time.
was he? Was he in your classes?
Senior?
Regis, was he in your same class as you were in?
Oh, I apologize for my lack of hearing.
It's okay.
My eyes have gone. My hearing's gone. My legs have gone. I don't know what's next. I guess I'll be next.
I'm right there with. No, I said, were you and Regis Etz in the same class in school?
I know. I was trying to think. I
oh.
think he was in the one below me, I believe.
What year did you graduate?
50.
1950. Okay. So were there 11 grades in, or were
12.
There was 12.
12, and boy, what an education. Pearl Smith and Lena Ames. Florence Beatty, did you all have?
Oh,
we had
Honey,
all them.
you did not blink your eyes if she was talking
she was
with
my
you.
favorite teacher, and she was all the boys' favorite teacher. I think everybody said she kind of liked to favor the boys over the girls.
They were wonderful, all of them.
She was,
But you were educated when you came out of their classes.
yeah.
But I loved it. I just
Yeah.
loved that school.
Yeah.
She graduated with Gerald Parks.
With
Okay,
who?
yeah, Gerald.
Yeah.
Gerald Parks graduated. You graduated with Gerald Parks.
No, not me.
Yeah,
I graduated with Sally Ann Horner Black,
Yeah.
Betty Nye, Mary Sue Hudson Scott, Mary Page Scott.
Mhm.
She was my best friend.
Okay.
And I'm trying to think, Charlotte Brownlee that
Yeah,
passed
yeah.
away.
Yeah.
And the boys in my class were birds.
Was Lloyd Kellum one of them?
Who?
Lloyd Kellum.
He was the one below me. He and Regis Rats were good friends.
Okay.
And but he was one grade below me. And
I bet he was a character too.
Lloyd, but he was so well liked. The whole family, and they still are.
Yeah.
But they had the shop downtown,
Yeah.
and we went in. It was I think it was called a restaurant, but they would fix you a hot dog or a hamburger, but that was it.
Yeah.
But all of my crowd of girls went down there every day for a Coke and a pack of naps every single day, and that's where I met Marty.
Really?
One or
bus pulled
two,
in,
one
huh?
or two bass guys would come in town in the day and go in there and sit down. And
So he was stationed at the air
at
or
big
the
Air
Fort
Force,
Custis?
good sized Air Force base.
Oh, it was when he was there. It was an Air Force base.
Mhm.
Okay, so he
Yeah.
was he was in the service, and he met you here.
In the Lloyd's drugstore.
But there. Yeah, we used to go there a fair bit. Play the jukebox. You always had to play the jukebox.
We
right?
did. We always had music. Of course,
Yeah.
I think most teenagers today love music,
Yeah.
but different kind.
Yeah, but no.
Ours was the romantic
Yeah,
area.
there's some years you could understand and listen
Era.
to there.
But
Yeah, so you could understand the words on air.
oh, honey, dancing and you just fell in love with anybody you were dancing with. The words of the songs and the tunes were so beautiful.
Yeah.
Where did they have dances around here when you were growing up?
We didn't really.
Didn't they have them at the Legion Hall maybe?
Yes, we went there some.
Okay, yeah, that's
And,
probably what I remember.
I didn't drink, and mothers and daddy didn't want me around any drinking.
Uh-huh.
And but you know, once in a while I got to go,
Broke bad there.
and but it was fun. Everybody in town went, because it was any place.
Mm-hmm.
And
yeah, yeah.
But anyway, I had a good upbringing as far as the town and the school,
Family.
and I love the teachers.
Yeah,
And
I agree. I think it was one of the best schools.
I mean, everybody went to college.
Yeah.
They were so educated, and everybody made good.
Yeah, well,
I was to go, and Mother had a bad, the worst kind of heart attack. And Daddy, business, had tapered off some. He had the only boats. He had a fleet of boats in the yacht, remember?
He had a railway too, didn't he? He had a railway with
Had a railway and had a seafood business. He shipped to the Latin Quarter.
Yeah, tell
He
us
provided
about
the
that.
Latin Quarter in New York
Tell us
seafood.
about that. That was Spencer's at Kings Creek. Is that correct?
Is it what?
Spencer's at Kings
Spencer's.
Creek.
Spencer Brothers.
Yeah, tell us more
Uncle
about
Elwood
that.
and Daddy. And Royce Lee worked there when he got old enough, and Sonny and Stanley didn't, but there was another girl in that family, Mary Ellen, and she passed away early.
Mary Ellen Spencer?
Mary Ellen Spencer.
Uh-huh. No, I didn't realize that.
But I spent my summers with any of my girlfriends, and we'd walk down there or ride our bikes and sit on the dock with our feet in the water. And we always took a slice of bread and crumbled it up, and we'd put one piece in our hand and catch minnows. We let them go, of course.
Did you ever crab off the dock?
Oh, yes.
Yeah, I took my son down there when he was he's 40 now, 40
Oh,
years old. I
my.
took him down there crabbing.
I did. And Mother and I were on that bay in one of Daddy's boats. I don't know how, I can't remember how many, 10 or 15 he and Uncle Edward had. And once Mother and I were real fishermen. I mean, good ones. I did use a rod and reel. They didn't have many of them
Hand
then,
line.
and they cost a fortune. But Daddy saved them to rent to the people from Philadelphia, New York that chartered the boats. And we weren't allowed on the yacht, and we weren't allowed the good rod reels because he paid a fortune for them. And but Mother and I used hand lines, and we fished once a week out here. More if Daddy had a cancellation. But
So
anyway,
was he a captain? Your dad, did he captain and take out the parties, or did he have something?
he didn't know a thing about any of that. Uncle Elwood did that. He was the business.
Okay.
He did all the business, and Betty Bailey's mother, I said, was his secretary.
Okay.
And those two roll-top desks were old when he bought them. You couldn't find them. They were in demand. Now they're not, but they're in the cellar. I had one refinished for Cindy when she moved to Delaware, and it was beautiful, both roll-top. But I don't know what happened to it up there because it looks like it needs refinishing again. The other one has never been refinished. That's my favorite. That was Daddy's.
Yeah.
And that one is really old.
Do you know where he got them from, maybe? You have any
I
idea?
have no, I wasn't in those days, wasn't interested.
Yeah, don't care about furniture.
Okay.
But I remember him. I remember, he had plaques from the railroad on the wall.
Did he work for the
Cliff
railroad?
Ball.
Yeah.
You remember Cliff
Oh
Ball?
yeah. But there were two Cliff Balls. The one worked down at the ice.
I
was
doubt the one
maintenance
that-
at the ice plant.
What?
One of them did maintenance. He was a maintenance worker for the ice plant in town. And the
No,
other one
that,
had,
this Cliff
TV
Ball.
repair replaced, didn't he? Out in Sheridan.
Pardon me?
Didn't one of them have the other one have a TV repair place, TV radio repair
Yes.
place in Sheridan?
Yes, that was his son,
Okay.
Clifton.
Okay.
But Cliff was Daddy's age.
Okay.
And every day at 4 o'clock, here come all the railroad men to Daddy's office.
Is
And
that
of
right?
course, they had to have their little toddy.
Of course.
And, but anyway, Cliff was the joker. I mean, you
Yeah.
get in the room with him and you never stop laughing. He was funniest man, nice guy. But, anyway, Daddy thoroughly enjoyed it. Having all the
Yeah.
company every day and
Did he ever?
carrying on.
Did they ever call that place the Bloody Bucket? Does that name ring a bell?
That was down, wait a minute, I'll think a minute. It was a long dirt road to that.
Oh, it wasn't at Kings Creek.
I wasn't thinking it was.
Okay.
I'm trying to think. it was over. I might be wrong, but I was thinking it was over the hump where it now is back there where the Coast Guard station is.
Uh-huh.
And it was a long old dirt road.
Oh,
And that's where all not the teenagers, but
yeah.
the married men and whoever they were with, and they would used to,
Yeah,
that was
sounds
where
like,
they went.
That sounds like the kind of place that somebody described to me, but they thought it was down in Kings Creek. But you said it's
I'm not positive.
Yeah.
I thought that was one of the main places
well, that you,
over there.
well, you would know better than I would for sure if that was right. Well, what what did you all do on Saturdays and stuff like that when you were growing up?
Saturdays,
Yeah,
movies. That's the only thing in town. Radio theater.
went to the Radiant Theater.
That was the only one
Oh,
at that time.
Yeah, that's right.
But that was, you know where that was.
Yeah, yeah.
And, but that's all we had because there weren't dances hardly on a special holiday or something.
Yeah.
But we didn't have anything.
Did y'all ever catch a ferry across the bay and do stuff?
Loved every second of it. Daddy would get upset because every 10 days we'd take the ferry and go shopping over there.
Yeah.
Smith and Walton's and Rice's and
Yeah.
Ames and Brownlee, but she didn't like their merchandise.
Yeah.
But anyway, on the way over on the ferry, we made our lists of what we wanted, and then we shopped and so forth. The Pocahontas was the best one, the steamer.
Uh-huh.
On a Friday night when World War II,
Yeah.
and they had dances.
Did they have a band?
All soldiers and sailors and Marines.
Did they have a band?
Once in a while they did, but it wasn't a full band. It would be maybe 3 or 4,
Yeah.
Another
instruments.
jukebox.
And of course, we were not even teenagers. And we'd love to watch those guys dancing, and the music. It
Had
was
the
so fun.
uniforms.
Hmm.
They were in their uniforms.
Oh, every one of them.
Yeah.
The Norfolk Naval Base sailors and the Marines and most of the soldiers were going north.
Yeah, going home or something maybe.
Something. We never talked to them. Mother would never have let us. And but we thoroughly enjoyed that steamer. When it was time to get off, everybody went down, and there was always a bus on there that took you to Granby Street,
Oh, okay.
or on the way if you wanted, something from somewhere else, they'd stop. But usually just went right on through to Granby Street. And I don't know where it went after that because we got off where all the stores were. Then you didn't eat in peace for a week.
Yeah.
When Daddy got all the bills.
Yeah. So you rode the bus to Granby Street from Little Creek.
Where?
Did it come into Little Creek or downtown Norfolk?
Yeah, Pocahontas went into Little Creek. It didn't go into Norfolk.
Well, that was the only shopping area over there.
Yeah, so
You
the
didn't
bus-
shop. Virginia Beach was not a shopping
Oh,
area
no.
then.
Yeah.
Do you ever remember going by the Ocean View Amusement Park?
Music.
Amusement Park in
Oh.
Ocean View?
I remember there was one, but I can't remember what it looked
Okay.
like. I'm sure we did.
Yeah.
And but we had a good time anyway. We always ate. Oh, I got ready to say it and it went right out of my mind. For lunch,
Oh,
we always ate at Kresge's lunch counter.
yep.
And there would be, because this was during the war, and there would be 3 or 4 sailors behind each one of us, our seats, waiting to get our seats.
Wow.
But all the way down, there would be people lined up behind us. And, I never did like to eat when somebody was behind me wanting. You felt like you had to chew twice as fast.
So could it help you with that or slap you on the back?
They were good old days, though. But Cape Charles had Wilson's,
Yeah.
and Exmoor had
Benjamin?
Yeah. And we went up there some too, and down here. Glad to have this one. And this was my favorite and rather than the other ones that were around.
Wilson's was.
Yeah, I think he had a pretty extensive operation.
Yeah, they had. Did they ever set up little railroad displays at Christmas time and things like that? Do you
I
remember?
think so, but you know where they lived,
Yeah.
Yeah.
down here in the
That's where,
corner. They were very prominent people.
Did you know? Let's see. I guess Jim Wilson was the, and then either his son or his father ran it. I'm not sure. W.B. Wilson. That would have been
Right.
That would have been the father. Do you remember him at all?
Very, very little. We shopped in there a lot
Yeah.
and all, but I don't remember. But the children, I was trying to remember the children. My sister, I think, went around with one of them,
Oh.
but I was young, 3 years younger. And I don't think any of them were my age. I don't remember any of them going around with any of them.
Yeah.
What about Saks Variety Store? Do you remember that place?
What was it called?
Saks.
Oh, Sax's. That was down past the Palace Theater.
Yeah.
Yes, and it was, I'm glad we had it. But Mother didn't deal in there much, but so we didn't go in there is what I'm saying a whole lot. But it was lucrative. I mean, as far as having business and everything, very lucrative. But the Palace Theater was not there.
Yeah.
And of course, Savages, you came along before they moved, didn't you? Or before Rayfields was built.
Oh yeah. Yeah, I remember when it was Savage.
Oh, honey,
Yeah, I remember
that was the place to meet.
I remember they had little round tables in there and these chairs that had twisted metal.
And they swung out from under the table. It was just a seat.
Well, no, the ones I was thinking about didn't, but and you could sit there and drink a Coke or stuff like that.
Oh, there were stools that where all of us
they
sat
had,
when we
they had
met.
those too.
Mhm.
Yeah, and I can remember Mr. Do you remember Mr. Savage?
Yeah, oh, yes,
Yeah.
yes, George and Tommy and
George.
all of them. Yeah, I remember. I grew
Well,
up
you
with
might
all
have
them.
what was their sister's name?
I was trying to think,
Yeah,
but
I can't
I didn't
think.
want to.
Rosa maybe or something like that, or.
Oh, wait a minute, you almost said it. You almost triggered it.
Uh-huh.
Rosella? No. Can't
Yeah.
remember.
Did you ever see any like movie stars and things? And every now and then the theater would invite Gene Autry or some Roy Rogers
In
or somebody.
person?
They would come.
In person or the
Yeah, in
movies?
person. But they weren't. They were like Smiley Burnett, I think was one of them. He was like a sidekick to one of the cowboys that was famous. I think he came one time. And
I think I did, but I can't remember who. It was good growing up here.
Yeah.
I've loved it. I've called it ever since I was young.
Yeah.
I've called it heaven, a little bit of heaven.
Yeah.
it was a
We
great
don't
place.
have much crime,
It was a great place to grow up.
and the houses now. I know that the town is new
Lot of
new
it.
people, and I enjoy them. I talk to every single one. I'm on the porch. I get my little bit of work done because I'm here alone,
Yeah.
and I keep it clean, real clean. And but I get out on the porch about 9:30 with my cat, who just went out for the first time, and I can't take her to Florida.
Oh, is that right?
I'm going to be sick about it. I mean ill, because I love her like a child. But she and I go out in the morning with my hot tea. I love coffee, but my stomach's been a little messed up. And I sit there and here come the tourists going to the beach.
Yeah.
And then I talk to them when they're coming home. But they come up on the porch and talk to me. And I told you they send me birthday cards and invitations to christenings, and I get all kinds of cards in the mail.
Yeah.
They called me the ambassador.
Well, you know, it's good to know that some of the people that are moving here are actually getting involved, you know, with the town and with the people that have lived here for a long time, as opposed to just being here.
But there
for a
aren't many
weekend.
of us.
No, that's true.
A realtor told me, now this is what I was told, that every house in town has been sold except 16. 16 only.
Is that right?
But they're beautiful.
Yeah. Well, people. I like the fact that they've renovated them and instead of tearing them down and stuff. So that's a good.
Well, I loved the town when it was pristine and
Well,
quiet. And,
yep.
you know, a little 3 or 4 year old could get on a small bike and ride the perimeter of the town. Not one soul would bother that child, and never has in my lifetime. But there's some resentment. But progress is progress.
Yeah.
I liked it quiet and all that, but I love what they've done
Yeah.
with the housing.
Yeah.
Fixing it. It's beautiful. I had company this weekend, Marty's brother and family from New York.
Okay.
And they've been coming ever since they got married years ago and had children.
Oh, that's
The
nice.
children loved it
Well, that's
here.
good.
Yeah.
Is Marty's brother, was it like him, always got a joke and something to tell you? Or
Walter
Personality
is the
wise?
finest man you'll ever meet in your life. I mean, he's every trait you can think of that's worthy of speaking. He is.
Really?
And his wife is perfect.
What were your parents' names?
Mother was Nell Goldsboro, and she was from Princess Anne, Maryland.
Oh, that's where I live now.
Daddy was what?
I live there now.
Really? You live in Princess Anne? I bet you know relatives because all those relatives are still there. I mean, the next generation.
yeah, sure.
But Daddy was from Sanford.
Oh.
Oh,
And I did know how they met, but it would take me a little while to remember. But Daddy was selling insurance.
Oh.
Mother was from a very, I'm not bragging, but very wealthy people. She had her own girl that dressed her all the time. When she was little, she hated it.
What was her maiden name?
Mother's Worrell, Worrell.
Worrell. Okay.
But she, anyway, she loved it there. But they met and they moved to Philadelphia. And I'm sure it was Mother that suggested that they moved to Florida. And they moved to Tampa. She was the most cold-natured person, and I'm just like it. Cindy is Marty, as far as the temperature.
Yeah.
She doesn't want any heat on when it gets cold or anything, and even during the winters when she was growing up even. I froze to death when she was here.
Yeah.
what was your father's full name?
Garland Lester.
Spencer.
Garland Lester Spencer.
Mhm.
And your mother was Nell
Goldsboro.
Goldsboro.
Family name.
Goes.
But anyway, it was fun growing up, going down to Kings Creek and watching the boats come in and all the fish, seeing everything. But the thing of it is, so many sportsmen are in it for the sports. And when they were from Baltimore and Philadelphia, New York, Daddy had them out west. He had everywhere you could think of. They chartered his boats because he was the only one down there until Ballard's.
Yeah.
And that was years later.
But Brian Travis did too, didn't he? With the Petunia.
Who?
Brian Travis.
Yes.
Yeah.
That was later, but Daddy was alone down there for years.
Was it?
He had a tremendous business. But what I started to say, these that came from the cities, they came for the sport, and they didn't want to take the fish home. So here comes Daddy, with all these fish,
Yeah.
for Mother to feed the stray cats.
Oh,
Of course, we cooked what we wanted.
I was gonna say.
Drumfish is good to eat.
I say we because I started cooking about 10 years old. And I cooked, Mother was the best cook in the county.
Yeah.
People that chartered Daddy's boats from Philadelphia and so forth, don't remember any New Yorkers that came. But they would get so close to friends with Daddy that he would ask them, call Mother and say, Nell, what about me bringing them home for dinner? Well, she loved it.
Yeah.
She was a real cook, and
Wow.
and she taught me everything she knew.
Yeah.
And I knew every recipe until, I guess, about a year ago. And I lost my memory. Now, all those recipes that were in my head, I've forgotten most of them.
Floating around somewhere.
I have to use cookbooks now. I never saw her use a cookbook.
Where did those people stay when they came?
Oh, Daddy booked. They loved Daddy. Every single available room in the county and in town was booked. He was constantly booking for people that were fishing.
Oh, okay. So they stay in hotels and
Remember the
boarding houses?
Virginia Hotel in the empty lot next to Judy
Yeah, I
Loomis?
remember it. Yeah, sure. Peeler Burford.
That was full. The boarding houses
Yeah. Yeah.
that they had then, everything was full.
Yeah,
This town was really something.
It was booming.
yeah.
And no theater then. That Palace, well, the Radium.
Yeah.
Yes, it was.
Yeah.
The Radium was there then. And all, but it was, the school has been revered because it was the best one,
It was.
anywhere. Most of the kids went to college, and
Yeah.
the ones that,
Yeah,
that wanted, and,
yeah.
their money was there. But-
Did your dad have a place where he steamed crabs in a great big pot down there on the
Oh
dock?
my, he had
I
a,
thought I remembered that.
Yeah.
yes, and he had a picking house.
Yeah, yeah.
Just
I
for
remember that.
about 15, I think it was 15, the black people loved it.
Uh-huh.
They sat down and just sat there and sang,
Uh-huh.
and I'd go in there because I loved to hear them sing. Oh, they were so good. And Daddy would say, don't you go in there, and cause them to,
Slow down.
yes.
Yeah.
But I loved it, but I love crab meat. Oh, and what is it now, $50 a can?
Yeah, $50
Probably,
a crab or something. It's pretty high.
That makes me sick because I could eat a whole can, just right out of the can.
Yeah, put a
Yeah,
little
oh,
vinegar
yeah, I
and
could
pepper
do-
on it. Oh, Lord have
And
mercy.
it's a lot
Oh.
quicker too than picking them.
But Mother would make devil crabs and crab salad and crab casserole. She made up everything, but it was the best. Everything she did.
Do you remember a guy? I don't know if he was a captain or not, but his name was Will Parker. I think Captain Will Parker.
Will Parker, the name's very familiar. What did he
lived-
do?
When we were growing up, at some point in time, I don't know. I don't think we ever kept our boat at your dad's dock there, but we were in and out of there a lot. With other people. Stiles, Junior Stiles' his family. Forrest Stiles kept his boat there, and we'd go fishing with them and all that kind of stuff. And I can remember it was an old guy, and he lived in one room, and it was actually out on the dock, as I remember, up on pilings there. And he lived there by himself. And I never.
It sounds
It was almost
familiar.
like he was disabled or something, but his name was. I think his name was Captain Will Parker, from what I remember.
I don't know, but I know that Mother was, I guess she cooked more than anybody in town, and so do I. I just finished 138 loaves of banana bread, gave it all away
Wow! Wow!
since February
Wow! Well, good for you.
to the tourists.
Who taught you to sew?
To sew.
Uh-huh.
Mother.
Did she?
She didn't have any sewing business, but she loved to sew, and she made our clothes.
Yeah.
And she taught me when I was 12, I started. So, and I didn't start that sewing business. I worked 20 years, and I was going to play golf the rest of my life. I never got on the golf course once. The week that I retired from Peoples, I came home, and I wanted a couple days just to do nothing. And that same week, here comes two different people. Patty, could you just hem a couple pairs of pants? And I said, of course, I don't turn anybody down. I didn't charge anybody at the beginning.
Oh, that was a biggie.
And so I would sit nights and do it. And oh, did I enjoy having something to do besides just sitting. Even when I watched TV, I just loved it. One night I did 14 hems on men's pants. There were a lot of men.
Yeah.
You know, there wasn't anybody else doing it. You know, there wasn't another seamstress.
Yeah.
But I enjoyed it so much that I didn't charge anybody, and so the business started coming. In about 2.5 months, I had 200 people.
Wow. Yeah, I know you did a lot of
slow them
sewing.
down.
But I wanted to be a designer and an artist. I was a good artist. I haven't done it since, but anyway, I wanted to be a designer like Edith Head. She was all the main big movies. She was the costumer.
Oh.
And I wanted to be another Edith Head. And so people started bringing me clothes, like a dress that was too worn to wear anymore. Mm-hmm. And they'd say, could you possibly copy this? And I did it. And I did more bathrobe. People have favorite bathrobes more than any other piece of clothes.
Yeah, I like
and I had the most fun designing bathrobes and dresses.
Huh.
But it was so much fun. But when I started, Marty and I went where he was later on the bridge. Mm-hmm. I had a favorite sewing shop over there, fabric shop. And I'd go over there and have like 6 or 8 zippers to buy. And thread was $3 and something for the big one. Mm-hmm. I had to get a lot of colors in that. And when I started putting out a lot of money, I started charging.
I don't blame you.
But I had treated everybody. I enjoyed it so much.
Yeah.
You sewed stuff up for me one time.
At
least once.
Was I charging then?
I don't even remember.
Yeah,
I don't either.
I don't think so. Probably not.
But I really enjoyed it. And I did it till I was about 80. Lined coats in the winter, wool. I made a man a sport coat one day. Turned out real good. He loved it. And but I thoroughly enjoyed it. I enjoyed the things that I have done in my life. It was nothing to impress anybody, and I didn't want to. But I loved to cook. And I cooked and baked, and we had every meal. Daddy and Marty and I didn't eat the same. We liked turnip greens and leafy vegetables. Yeah. Daddy would eat nothing but like fresh butter beans and things like that, peas with dumplings. Yeah. And so we had 2 meats, and sometimes 2 meats and the seafood. We'd have crab cakes or something. But Daddy didn't eat white potatoes. He wanted sweet potatoes. Well, my children, and even before I had children, I liked, my sister and I liked mashed potatoes, and I still love them. But anyway, it was never fix macaroni and cheese for Daddy that I didn't fix corn pudding, because that was my favorite.
Oh, I agree.
You know why? Had sugar in it.
Yeah, that's so sweet.
I'm a sweetaholic.
Yeah. Did you ever make any oyster stew?
Oh, yes.
Yeah, you got a
Oh,
recipe for
Daddy's
that?
favorite.
Yeah,
Clam chowder.
yeah.
I cooked everything Mother cooked. She made up a lot that was absolutely fantastic. But I don't know where she learned. I mean, how come? Because they were so wealthy, her family.
Yeah.
And I don't know how because she didn't cook, and her mother didn't cook. You know, they had a cook.
Yeah.
And I don't know how she learned to cook so good. I guess in Florida they had probably a lot of seafood.
So did they live in Florida for a while?
Tampa.
Tampa.
My sister was born there. She was 3 years older than I was.
Okay.
But the Depression hit. Daddy had a wonderful job by then on the railroad,
Oh,
in the office
here in the railroad.
in Tampa.
Oh, in Tampa.
And they laid off 50 people on the railroad when the Depression started. And nobody could get a job because everybody was laying off people.
Yeah.
So they came back to Cape Charles and moved in this little house I told you where I was born. I was born when the Depression started.
Hmm.
So I was a Depression child.
29, 1930.
Did your dad ever work for the railroad here?
No.
Uh-huh.
He went down and he was smart as I don't know what, but he went down there and he wanted his own business.
Mhm.
So he started the seafood first, and he bought all the fish and crabs and everything from the watermen.
Okay.
And then he shipped them to the Latin Quarter and different places in the country, as well as around here.
Yeah.
But if you remember, Spencer's Seafood was the best anywhere. It had that reputation.
Yeah.
But then he and Uncle Elwood got together, and they started. They bought a one boat. No, that was the yacht. They bought the yacht from Hawaii. It was called the Mahatra.
I was going to ask you about that boat, and I didn't think you'd remember it. I don't know why, but yeah, that was an impressive boat.
Oh, it was gorgeous.
So that came from Hawaii?
Hawaii. And I didn't know what it meant. It meant something so happy.
Yeah.
And I've lost that. I told somebody about it 2 weeks ago. We were talking about it.
Yeah, I remember that boat.
And I can't remember what it meant. But I'm going to try my best to remember.
So he used that to take fishing parties on.
He didn't take any.
Oh, I'm sorry.
No, Uncle Elwood did, but he didn't know how.
Yeah, but okay. So, but did he buy that boat though for the business to take?
Oh, yes. But, it cost so much to lease or to charter
Mm-hmm.
a boat that the fishermen from up the cities,
Yeah.
all up and down from northern cities and Charlottesville and all that too. But it cost so much to charter that boat that it wasn't lucrative.
Oh, okay.
So they had it, I don't know, a couple years or
Yeah,
something.
well, actually, I remember that boat.
It was beautiful.
What were the names of some of the other boats that they had? Do you remember?
Mary Ellen,
Mary Ellen?
that was Uncle Elwood's daughter.
Okay.
She passed away young.
But Emma, what was that?
Emma was my grandmother's name. I couldn't think.
Okay.
Selden and Emma. And that was a boat. You're right. How come you remember that?
I just do.
We used to hang out down at the creek when we were kids. That was the
Yeah.
to-go place for us.
Oh, did you ever ask Daddy if you could have a Coca-Cola out of the...
I don't remember doing
I
that.
remember they had a Coke machine out on the dock there.
No, this was a big... Because he had seafood in it sometimes.
Oh.
Great big
Like a chest
freezer.
Uh-huh.
And it froze everything, but the Coca-Colas in the bottle were on top,
Mm-hmm.
and they never froze solid, but almost. And on hot summer days,
The Coca-Cola slushy.
delicious. But we went down and sat on the wharf and took our shoes off. I said that, didn't I? anyway, and loved to sit there and on hot summer days with my feet in the water.
Yeah.
But I fell overboard. I was walking and talking. Shirley Ball, Cliff Ball's sister, young Cliff's sister.
Yeah.
She and I were like sisters. And we were walking, and I turned around, got talking to something that she said very interesting, and out I went. And I didn't swim, but all the way down, I hit the barnacles trying to grab them. Daddy didn't swim. He had to go get a, what do you call the small?
Hook.
Huh?
Boat hook.
No, the boats, the small ones,
scow?
not scow. Was it scow?
Yeah.
He went and got that. He came and got me, but boy, was he hot. He was busy all the time in the office, and he had to stop and come get me out of the water.
Yeah.
But it was
Shirley
fun.
Ball, she was a pretty girl, wasn't she? Wasn't she Miss
She
Eastern
was in
Shore?
Miss Virginia, out at the Palace Theater.
Okay. You remember Ruth Ellen Mears?
Oh, yeah, she was older than me. She was Miss Virginia.
Yeah. Yeah, she was, well, Agnes, her mother, was my mom's sister.
Oh, no.
Yeah, yeah. So I didn't know. I figured y'all were somewhere around the same. How about in Tiny? You remember?
Tiny Mears.
Yeah, yeah.
Oh, yeah, everybody knew Tiny.
Yeah, she was a
She was a real character.
She was.
Everybody loved her to death.
Yeah, yeah.
Nobody ever said anything, negative about her.
Yeah,
But she was a bird, too.
yeah. She was.
But trying to think of some of the other that you would know, but mine was the ones I told you, Mary Sue and Charlotte Russell, Tyndall.
Yeah.
And
who were the cheerleaders back then in high school?
I was captain.
You were? There you. Can you get up and give us a sis boom bah?
We didn't sis boom by. I've still got the sheet of all the
Cheers.
different cheers, and I wish I could think of one.
I'll tell you what,
Chickalaka, chow, 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 boomeraka, boomeraka,
Chickalaka.
sis boom bah.
Chickalaka.
Football, so
I
we go
remember
on.
one that, I don't know if you have this, our team is red hot, your team ain't diddly squat.
No, that wasn't what I did. I didn't do that one. We didn't have that
I
one.
know y'all did nice stuff,
Yeah,
Cape- it was one that said-
the opposite.
One that said Cape Charles High School. I can't remember the rest of it.
Rah, rah, rah.
It was something about about that, but it wasn't raw. But it was something like that.
Yeah.
But they were the good old days. We beat Northampton was the top one that we played that was the most
And they were-
competitive.
and much bigger than us.
We won them on Thanksgiving Day, 99-0.
Yes,
Thank you for getting that on our video.
that's
there.
right, that means it's real. You
Yeah.
ask anybody from Northampton about that, they'll say, never happened, never happened.
I know. Regis Etz and Lloyd Kellum.
Yeah,
And I'm trying to think. They were all the top.
Jimmy Harrison, was he part of that group?
Jimmy Harrison, no, he's younger.
he was
He was
younger, yeah.
younger. Okay.
That's younger. I was Mary Catherine Ames Ballack.
Yeah.
She and I were the co-captains. They couldn't decide. The football team was the ones that picked, and they couldn't decide. So they made Mary Catherine and I. But Peggy Jane Harrison, Jimmy's sister,
Yeah.
she was pretty.
Yes, she was. She was.
And
Harrison's on the team? Oh, well, you said Peggy Jane. Yeah. Okay.
Mary Sue Scott. I don't think Charlotte Brownlee was one. I don't remember her being one.
So did you all travel when they played? Did they play football teams across the bay? I'm assuming.
All
didn't
the time.
they? Yeah. Do you remember any?
Norfolk Academy. We
Yeah, used
beat
to play
them one
when I was
time.
in high school.
That was a big one because they had boys to
Yeah.
choose from galore.
Yeah,
It was like a
they flogged
professional-
us pretty bad when we were playing. I remember.
Yeah. Oh, we played over there more than we played up the road.
Barry Robinson, did y'all ever play there?
Barry Robinson,
Like a reform school.
Do you remember playing Matthews any?
Matthews County.
Yeah. Somebody told me one time the football team went to Matthews to play, but they went on boats. They didn't go on the ferries. Somebody took them over on fishing
Work
boats
boats.
and work boats and stuff like that.
Wasn't my team. In my years, I was
Yeah.
scared of.
Yeah.
I would have been scared.
Yeah. You remember Dan Wilkins?
Oh, he was the best.
Yeah.
He was the coach when I was cheering.
Was he? Okay.
Oh,
Yeah,
yes. And
yeah.
you know what? I don't care how well a person is liked. Once one person knows something, oh, let me tell you this, against the person.
Yeah.
Never heard children, grown-ups,
no
anybody.
dirt,
He
huh?
was loved.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
He was really loved by the women, and I don't mean negative in any way, but
Yeah, no,
females
he was a
and
good guy.
males both equally loved him to death.
He was a good guy. Was he related to Billy Wilkins?
His brother, wasn't
Yes, Billy lived over
Yeah,
here.
right.
Yeah,
Were they brothers?
I think they were.
Okay.
I think they were. I've lost a lot,
Yeah, that's all right.
and but anyway, they were good days. Thanksgiving, everybody
Yeah.
in town participated
Yeah, that
in
was a
our
good deal.
children.
Yeah.
It was beautiful.
Yeah.
We were so proud because all these old people, I mean, old, a lot of them old,
Yeah. Yeah.
and they loved it.
Yeah. That was
Is
a
that-
big deal.
They had the pep rallies on Friday nights.
Oh,
It was Thursday
yes.
nights, I guess they had the pep rally.
But
The
honey-
football king and queen. Were you ever the football queen?
Yes, Peggy Jane got it not one year when I was there.
Peggy Jane did.
Hmm.
Who was the king that year?
I think Lloyd Callum.
Oh my lord.
I think
Ask him about that.
Yeah, I have to ask you about
he
that.
was well liked.
Oh, he still is, as far as I'm concerned. He's one
Oh,
of my favorite people.
absolutely.
I love
When I
Peggy.
go up the road,
Yeah.
if he sees me, we get a hug. Although he was a year below me in school. But everybody loved he and
Yeah,
Regis.
he's a
Little Regis was, whew,
Yeah.
he was so liked, but he was a bird.
I've got a picture, or I've seen a picture. I think it was in a yearbook. It was a
I've
picture
got-
that Lloyd, I think Lloyd showed it to me. We were looking through an old Cape Charles yearbook, and it was a football team, and it was this picture of he and Regis. And
They were buddies. I mean, bosom buddies.
Anyhow, they were down in what they call a 3-point stance. You know, you had your knuckles on the ground. They had the uniforms on, and they were, looking
Yes.
mean and all that kind of a 3-point stance. And he was kind of bragging about it. I said, if you try to do that now, it would be a 4-point stance. I said, your gut would also be touching the ground.
Dragging the ground. Yeah.
Yeah, he laughed.
Football was the biggest thing we had. We didn't have any teen clubs and,
Yeah, yeah,
and anything, but it was fun. It's,
yeah.
You appreciate something like that much more when you don't have anything else. Of course,
Yeah.
you devote. But it wasn't just that. It's just that everybody loved football.
Yeah.
But
When you were looking through your clothes, did you find your cheerleader's uniform? And can you still get in it?
what did I find? I found something one day from high school. And you know what I found the other day? This might not interest you as well. But Daddy was in the Shriners, Masons, and then the Shriners.
Okay, yeah.
And he was up there.
Okay.
I found his fez all jeweled.
Oh, Khedive Temple.
It was red.
What they call it, Khedive Temple?
Oh, yeah, Khedive. I thought you
Yeah.
said
Well,
something
also that,
purple.
We used
Yeah.
to go over there they had the Oyster Bowl every year, football game, and we used to go every year to that. I used to love it.
Daddy,
That parade they had. the whole
yes,
thing.
Daddy loved it.
Yeah,
Mother was a stay-at-home, quiet, but staunch Episcopalian and the leader of the church in a lot of ways. But we didn't miss a Sunday. If you didn't go to church because you'd say, "Mother, I've got a headache," well, stay home, but you don't go out the rest of the day. So I raised my children that way. But you know what? I'm so grateful for what I'm getting ready to tell you. My John, and all of us were Episcopalians, but the church closed for lack of funds.
Yeah.
So I told the children, I said, you can go to any church that you want. Protestant, Catholic, I don't care which one, but you will not miss a Sunday. And we didn't either. Marty and I went.
Yeah.
They both, John said, I think I'll go along with Frank. And Verdell, Verdell was my best friend.
Jewel. Yeah.
She was so smart, taught all those sciences and biology and all.
Yeah.
And, but anyway,
So he said
John went on to the Baptist with Frank, and Cindy was 3 years younger. And she said, I said, where do you want to go, with John or what? Me too, she said. So she went to the Baptist. So Marty and I wanted to worship together. So we went to the Baptist. 2 weeks before he was killed, he joined the Baptist church.
Oh, did he? Well, good.
And I was sick that one Sunday, the only Sunday I didn't go.
Yeah.
And he went, and he and Cindy, and he came home, and I was in bed. I don't know whether I had the flu or something. Yeah. And he came up and sat on the bed, and he said, Mom, I've got something to tell you. And I said, oh. I said, well, tell me, John. He said, Dr. Hammond. You remember that name?
Yeah, H.H.
yeah.
Hammond.
Oh, yeah.
He was a nice preacher.
Sure.
He said I had shown, he didn't say the word interest, but I had shown, I'll say it, interest.
Yeah.
And Dr. Hammond got me to stay after church, and he didn't push John.
Mhm.
But he talked to him to find out how serious he was about it. And John came in, he said, sat on the bed when I was in there. And he said, Mom, I have something to tell you. I just said that. And I said, well, go ahead, tell me. He said, I'm going to be baptized next 2 weeks. 2 weeks. All the Christian school kids come and sing to me.
Oh.
And they just left.
Oh.
And whenever they do, I've watched them grow up. That's my only charity.
Yeah.
That in Boys Town.
Yeah. Yeah.
And there are others I'd like to, but I couldn't afford but those two. But anyway, they were always from this big, preschool or first grade.
Yeah.
They come and sing.
Yeah.
Wow.
And so anyway, Valerie Travis was teaching way back.
Yeah.
They're really a positive thing for this town. I walked by there one day, and they were all sitting out there having lunch. And
They do it now all the time.
Katie Taylor, their teacher says,
Yes.
children, says, there goes Mr. Neville. Say hello, Mr. Neville. They'll say, hello, Mr.
You should picture us doing that.
No.
I'll make them chocolate chip cookies. Whenever tourists go by, you're going to think I'm crazy or senile.
Yeah.
But when the tourists go by, and I love children so much, but when the tourists go by and I get talking, sometimes a little child will come up on the porch to see me. Mm-hmm. And he'll talk. Some of them are real talky.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
And I like that.
Oh, yeah.
And I'll say, where are you from? And do you go to school? They're not very old.
Yeah.
And I'll say, are you going to be here tomorrow? And they'll say, yes. And I'll say, do you like cookies? Oh, yes. I'll say, do you like chocolate chip cookies? Oh, that's my favorite. They all say that. I think boys like chocolate chip cookies more than girls. But I always make them a batch of chocolate chip cookies, and they come the next day and get it. Then I get pictures in the mail of new babies, little sisters. I get I told you, invitations to showers and everything.
Wow.
It's so much fun.
That is so cool.
I've had a good life, I lost John and I lost Marty.
Yeah.
And I pray for an hour every night.
Yeah.
And I'm very, very much a Christian.
And the way the things are going, you need up there to an hour and a half, probably. At least.
Yeah, it's good, though, to be able to look back.
Yeah.
And what your life was like and how thankful you need to be or are for you know, how you were brought up and the
I
experiences.
think Cape Charles is the reason.
Yeah, it's a big part.
It's what has made my life
Yeah, it's a big
comfortable
part of
and
where you
happy and beautiful. That beach, who wouldn't love to live here?
grew up. Yeah, if you're a kid.
Every tourist that goes by that I talk to will say, you know, I want a house here. Some of them want permanent homes if they're retired.
Yeah, yeah.
And some of them want a vacation home.
Yeah.
But I talked to a woman from Oklahoma one day, from Oklahoma, and I said, how did you find this? And she said, a friend of mine, of hers, that was not living in the same state, but they got together. And the friend had been here and told her that, and about Cape Charles. But they all want to live here. They love it.
Yeah.
And not as many small children, people with small children.
Yeah.
Although I told you, man and woman, I don't know what age they are, I'd say 35, that are bought my house.
Yeah.
And
Are they interested in the school at all?
do they what?
Are they interested in the school here at all, or do you know?
Never, she's never said one word to me, but he's real friendly.
I mean, I tell you
Nice guy. If you ever meet him, you'll meet him, I'm sure.
Yeah,
I don't know what they do because
yeah.
he stopped for about 5 minutes and talked to me on the porch. But she looked through the house after they told me they wanted it.
Yeah, yeah.
And she came out the door, went right down the steps, and she turned around and said, I don't want anything in your house. I said, okay. Wouldn't plan on letting you have it anyway. You can delete that.
Like a bonus, yeah.
Who was
Fuller
that?
brush man, I threw him off the porch.
Who is he?
Said it was the Fuller brush man. he's fooling with
It's
you.
Gwen Coghill. She
Oh,
said she'll
Gwen?
come back later.
Oh, okay.
See what I did.
I've got this whole day with different people coming. You're the second.
Oh, okay. Well,
Not all interviews or anything.
yeah. Well, run us out whenever you want to there, because I'm enjoying this. So I really.
You know, I thought I was gonna. I'm never, even in school, I wouldn't hold my hand up. Never. Scared to death. Even in high school. And if anybody said, walking down the hall, said, hi, Patty, I'd turn purple. But Peebles got rid of that.
Yeah. Crawley Lewis, was Crawley Lewis your boss?
I'd be up there talking to, I had teenagers that wanted to tell me all their problems. And I didn't try to entice that.
Yeah. Right.
But they'd come up there, Ms. McKlusky, I broke up with so-and-so last. And how can I get him back? I don't know. Anyway, a lot of the black people, the older ones, I had one that, I mean, we were such good friends. And she was 10 years older. But I had a black woman. Did you know Dorothy Bibbins?
I knew Francis Bibbins.
All right, they were related, but
Yeah, Paul Bibbins.
Paul Bibbins.
Yeah, well, yeah.
That was my woman I had helping me for 30 years. And we were so close. After 30 years, you know, she
Yeah,
told
it's
me
like
her
family.
problems and I told her mine.
Yeah.
But we called each other sister.
Yeah.
She was wonderful. She raised her daughter. She and her husband divorced right, you know, she got pregnant right away. And right after that, they weren't married too long before they broke up. But anyway, she had a baby, Teresa, and she retired from Northampton, school teacher. She was a school teacher. See, you can educate your children and do things if you want to.
Yeah.
And all Dorothy did all her life was to clean houses.
Yeah. Well,
But she was determined she was going to have
Yeah, if you've got the
a
urge.
daughter that didn't have to do that.
Well, I think Paul Bibbins, I think he had he had a family like families ought to be, as far as I can tell.
Very exceptionally nice.
Yeah, he did.
And Dorothy's mother was a midwife. She delivered babies,
Is that right?
even white.
Yeah. Well, Frances, who was Paul Bibbins' daughter,
Hmm.
she's a historian, black historian. I mean, and that's one of the things that I don't know whether you would call that her profession or not. But I got to be pretty good friends with her when my friend Jim Lewis was writing his book about Cape Charles. Yeah, talking about making cookies for school kids.
Yeah.
Do you remember this may have been after you graduated or something? But there was Miss Baker. You remember
Oh,
Miss
she
Baker?
lived across the street.
And she
Yeah.
made,
Everybody in Northampton
Candy
County
apples.
wanted her stuff.
and she made
apples in the
she
fall.
made candy.
That was her main thing.
Yeah, because I remember at school we used to walk down the street and buy candy apples.
Everybody did. What did they cost? I can't
I
remember.
can't, but they were probably 10 cents or.
I started to
maybe
say,
a
weren't
quarter
they
or more.
10 cents?
Yeah, they weren't much.
Gosh.
But they,
Caramel and chocolate.
yeah,
And,
those are good
Oh, that
candy
was.
apples. Wow.
She was something, but she was so pleasant. Just a nice person.
she
And
was Jeanette Wilkins'
Jeanette's mother.
sister, wasn't she?
No, she was
What?
her mother, I think, wasn't she?
Jeanette Wilkins was her. They were sisters. Jeanette, Billy Wilkins,
Yes.
and Jeanette.
Baker.
Wasn't Jeanette
Uh-huh.
her sister?
Yes.
Okay, okay, yeah.
Yeah. They were
There was
all
also
nice
Battery
people.
Baker.
Yeah.
I don't know of anybody. Well, there's nobody in the world that I dislike.
Yeah.
But I don't know in those days of much. There wasn't much crime. We had a few break-ins in once in a while, but it wasn't Sin City.
Yeah.
Never has been. It's just been a wonderful town.
Yeah.
But anyway, the people like Miss Baker and Dan Wilkins,
Mhm.
they were revered.
Yeah.
They loved people, and they were
Yeah.
revered. And a lot of others too.
You remember Dr. Lynch?
Who?
Dr. Lynch, Mortimer Lynch.
Oh yes, down here.
Yeah, he was our doctor.
Yeah,
when
we had good doctors. Dr. Ames, Mary Catherine's father.
Yeah.
Mhm.
He
He delivered
was-
us.
Shepherd Ames.
He delivered me and Bill.
Did he?
Mm-hmm.
Well, I'll be.
Yeah.
Well, he was my doctor. And I went to him a many times. I broke my arm playing Follow the Leader. And Jack Ward was behind me. And I didn't get in the window of a abandoned house.
Mhm.
We were going in there not to stay, but we were playing Follow the Leader. And we wanted some excitement, I guess. And I started in the window from outside, and I wasn't as tall as some of them. And Jack Ward was behind me, and he said, "Hurry up." And I went down inside and broke my wrist.
Oh,
And I went, Mother took me to Dr. Ames,
okay.
and he went, pulled it back in place. That's what they did. And
Yeah.
I don't know what they do now,
Did he
because
put
I
a
have,
cast on it or anything, or
Hmm?
did he put a cast on it?
oh yes,
Yeah,
big one.
yeah.
But I was scared to death, and it hurt.
Oh, I'm sure.
It hurt. He had his office. Remember where the Times office was
Yeah.
down
Oh,
here?
Yeah,
On
yeah.
top of the phone company.
Yeah, across from the post office.
Switchboard,
yeah.
Sideways. Well, his Dr. Ames's office was there at one time, but I'm trying to think if he moved on Front Street.
Well, there were some doctor's offices across the street from it, wasn't it, in the Mac?
Yes, it moved. Yeah.
It
Yeah.
seemed like it was a
I think
dentist
that's where
office.
Dr. Lynch was probably, and also Garcia. Was there.
Were you all old enough to remember Peach Abe's Peach Lusk? She taught
Yeah.
Oh, sure, yeah.
tapping and ballet and all kinds of dancing.
Yeah, yeah. I'm
That was one thing that we had to do, we could do. So I took tap, I think. But I remember those little black patent leather shoes with
Yeah.
the bottom they nailed
Taps.
taps.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I remember that was one thing most everybody did. Not always tap dancing,
Yeah.
but ballet or
Yeah, but that was a
whatever.
big deal back then. And who was the
Margaret Barnes' daughter is teaching tap dancing right now down here at the theater.
Really?
Really?
You know,
Oh,
Lisa
darn.
Brash.
You
I
remember
don't-
Margaret Ann Barnes, I know.
Oh, yes.
Yeah.
But I can't get out. Cindy lives in Florida, and I'm here alone. And in the winter, I sit here every single day alone. All my friends have passed away.
Yeah.
Randy and Judy McKnight are very dear to me.
Mhm.
He is the best caregiver I've ever seen, man or woman. He loves her to death, and she has Alzheimer's. But he's learned to cook, and he's a good cook. But I do the sweets, cakes and
Yeah.
and pies and stuff. I asked him the other day. I said, what's next? What do you want this time? I want a blueberry pie. So I made him one, and ended up, it looked so good I made myself one. Ate the whole thing. I said, boy, I love the way the town looks.
I do too.
But next to them, the people are from Carolina, and they built a new home where Lee Sperling used to live.
Okay.
They
yeah.
they had it torn down, and they about don't see them hardly ever. They don't come real often.
Where
but-
Lee Sperling used to live?
Hmm?
I thought he lived right here across from you, didn't he? Didn't
Who?
Lee Sperling?
Next to the, I called it blue, I was probably gray. Next
Where
to,
Eubank used to live. It's the next house down the street here.
yeah,
Yeah, okay.
It was a big old white house, wasn't it? It was a
it was a big old, old.
Okay. Okay. Yeah,
And it looked nice. She kept it, Miss Berlin
Yeah.
kept it. And all, but it did belong to them. It belonged to, not the Scott estate, another one. A woman that had a lot of owned property in town. I can't think of her name. But these people had it torn down, and they built that new home.
Okay.
And then the Yellow House, which was originally Virginia Richardson,
mm-hmm.
and she was a dear friend too, but
Yeah.
she passed away.
Yeah.
And then Randy and Judy, who I was saying, Judy has Alzheimer's.
Yeah.
I miss Virginia Tyndall. Remember old Mrs. Tyndall worked with me at Peebles.
I remember.
Was that Sandra's mother?
Was it Sandra's mother? Sandra and Charlotte's mother?
Sandra Tyndall.
Yeah.
Charlotte?
No.
Didn't they live in
Charlotte
this house?
lived here.
Yeah.
Alva Tyndall was her mother.
Oh, okay. What was
And
her
I
father's
can't-
name?
Hmm?
What was her father's name? Was it Knee-High Tyndall?
Might have been. That sounds from. I know that there was
Unusual
a
name,
knee-high.
Knee-High Tyndall, but
Yes.
Yeah.
It's funny, but all of us old people, if I meet somebody, I usually say, where are you living? And when they tell me, I'll say, oh, that was
Yeah.
old Mrs. So-and-so's home.
Mm-hmm.
But they love it.
Well, that's what I was going to say. That's another neat thing about a place like this, where you've got people still here that grew up here and know that kind of thing, and then somebody new moves in. I know there's a big deal. Like a lot of people go to the town offices to find out when their house was built and who owned it and stuff like that. And
Well-
it's good that they're interested in the place, that they want to know that kind of thing rather than.
A lot of them that belong to the Historical Society are making plaques.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And I belong to it, but I've never taken time to do it. Not that I didn't want to, but I worked,
Yeah.
came home, had that sewing business,
Uh-huh.
Mm-hmm.
and I cook. I
Yeah.
cook all the time.
Yeah.
And even alone, now that I'm alone, I still want pies and cakes and
Yeah.
hot meals with liver and onions,
Gizzards.
pork chops.
Yeah.
Have you been in, is it AJ's?
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
Have you had the pork chop?
No.
Go get it.
I did, and it was a big chunk of meat. It was more
It's
than I
not
could
a chop, it's a steak,
eat. I know.
but it's that thick.
I know.
Holy
That's
cow.
what I got.
Oh,
the other day
it's
when I was
out of
there.
this world.
Yeah.
Mhm.
I'm glad that place reopened. I was afraid it was not going to open again. I liked it when it was, what was it called? Oh, the firehouse.
Old
Yes.
fire.
Yeah, yeah. And
Well-
I'm so glad that place reopened. And inside it looks a lot like it did. They didn't change it a lot, from what I remember. They still got a balcony upstairs.
Yes.
And stuff. And
Well,
they
this
used to have-
AJ's you can go up and eat.
Yeah, I know. We that's where we ate when we ate with John Bull, wasn't it? And then one time they used to have somebody out there playing a piano and all. It was a classy place there. I mean, when it was the firehouse and
How about Ray Fields?
Love it.
We'll
yeah, that's-
Love lunch.
You want to go for lunch?
I can't. I don't know where Cindy is.
Oh, that's all right.
you could go.
And
with us.
I'd love to though.
Yeah.
I love their lunches, the egg salad sandwich I've eaten since high school.
Yeah.
And it's the same. I guess it's the same
Got
everywhere.
a serious
But the
hamburger.
best cheeseburgers anywhere.
I'm hungry.
They're juicy, never dry, and they're big and
Yeah.
thick.
Yeah.
Love
Chicken
them.
salad, Chicken salad. They got a good selection there.
I had chicken salad from them yesterday for lunch.
I put some. Have that hot relish you can put on top of it.
Yes.
I love that.
But you have to ask for pickles. I had company one time and had 18 people. And I had the best time cooking I've ever had in my life.
That sounds like a family reunion or something. Almost.
No, it was all family. They already had a large family.
Oh, okay.
But I've got a picture of all 18 of us sitting on the steps.
Yeah.
Oh,
So yesterday when the same brother came, and with his two, we went out there and did it again. Had the pictures taken on the
oh,
steps.
well, nice. That's nice.
I know, they're so sweet.
Let me ask you one more thing. Or are you finished now?
Go ahead.
Do you remember anything about Sandy Island?
Oh, yes.
Did you ever go over there as a kid?
Oh,
or-
of course, Dad had a fleet of boats in that yacht. We didn't get to go on the yacht.
Yeah.
But one of the boats was the Patty B, named for me.
Yeah. Okay.
And is that on?
Yeah. Yeah.
I'll tell you about the Patty B later.
Okay.
And anyway, we would fish from. Mother would cook before we went. We'd get on the boat about 10 o'clock. She'd get up early every time. Fried chicken, potato salad, deviled eggs, baked beans,
Wow.
Campbell's cans of baked beans,
Yeah.
and something sweet, mostly a cake because
Yeah.
pies.
Yeah.
Excuse me, the pies were awkward to take.
Yeah.
But anyway, we'd fish all day long, and when we fished until as much as 9:30 at night,
Oh wow.
and dragged our lines in to get one more. But anyway, sometime during the day, we would take a break and go over
Go
to
to Sandy
Sandy
Island.
Island.
Yeah.
Yeah, I remember that.
Was there any buildings over there? Do you ever remember any buildings on Sandy Island?
No.
Yeah. 'Cause
I
think-
remember a dilapidated one time when I was real young.
I was going to say.
Somebody did build probably a
Well, it was a fish processing plant.
fishing thing.
Yeah, and but I think the Navy took it over in World War One for a short period of time. But before that, they processed menhaden fish
Yes.
for the oil, and then the Navy.
I don't
took it
remember
over.
the Menhaden, but I remember the
Yeah,
Navy.
that would have been before your time too.
Yeah.
But I kind of liked walking over there when we were kids for all that wreckage and everything, and just trying to imagine in my mind what that was like when it was going, And I can remember seeing an old auger over there one time, a big old auger, and I'm sure what it was used was to squeeze the fish to get the oil out of them,
Yes.
that was there. Well, it was rusted in bad shape, but there was a lot of brick foundations and
Yes.
things like that. But I think the storm of '33 probably took a good bit of it down when that hit.
This would interest maybe the new people because there's not many old ones left. Betty Hall and no, she just
She's gone.
died,
She
didn't
just-
she?
yeah, she's left, yeah.
I forgot. I don't really know who else is still around. I don't hear anything, and I'm in this house without a phone call or anything. I just sit here all winter.
Yeah.
That's why the porch is my living room in
Yeah.
summer
Yeah.
and spring. But anyway, I was born in 1933, and that was the last big hurricane,
Yeah.
and it blew the roof off the school.
Oh, did it? I didn't know that.
That's the worst one, and we haven't had one like that since.
They had one in 1954 called Hazel, I remember. That
Remember?
was a bad one.
Yes, it was. But that school was,
What?
I'm sure, built solid,
Oh, yeah.
with children. They're dealing with children.
1912.
But it sure did. It blew the roof off the school.
Wow.